Hi, this is so exciting. I am streaming live on YouTube. I am doing this video right out from my studio in Manhattan. I own a Pilates studio here in the city. And I guess that's important because it's sort of part of what I want to talk about today. I am also a life coach. So this is part of something that I'm offering to talk about different topics regarding relationships, career choices, finding your passion, finding your purpose, debt management, business consulting, starting a new business. I am a brand new business owner. I've had my own LLC for over a year, almost 2 years now, but I have my first actual commercial space running a brick and mortar business in New York City. 6 months. I'm 6 months in now, so it's very exciting. And I was watching the show Marvelous Miss Maisel the other day. Big fan. And don't worry, I'm not going to give anything away if you're still catching up. But in the final episode of season 3, she has this scene with her mother. And I thought it was sort of like a light bulb moment for me. And I looked at the screen and I'm like, oh my God, me too. Like I have also been there. I'm there right now. Certain days, that's exactly how I feel. So I'm just going to, before I say any more, I'm going to play you the clip. The clip won't give anything away. Everything she talks about is actually revealed in the very first pilot episode of the show. So this is Marvelous Miss Maisel. She's speaking to her mother. So let's see, I'm going to resume.
No one asked you to get in the middle. I know he didn't. I'm not going to be talked to like this by my own daughter. You know what? I am sorry, Mama. I'm sorry that you are so disappointed in how my life turned out. I'm sorry that you can't understand the turn it's taken. I have certainly tried to explain it to you, to include you in it, but you don't want to understand or be included. You just want to be disappointed. I'm sorry that I am a comedian and that you can't watch me on stage and that you still think I'm a prostitute. I'm sorry that Joel left me and blew up my life, but he did. He left. He blew up my life. I did not want that to happen, but it did happen, and I had to do something about it. And one of these days, you are going to have to acknowledge that this is the new reality. That I am, for the first time in my life, taking charge of my own destiny. Just like Joel is in charge of his life,
the important part.
So is Benjamin.
Okay. Whew. There's so much there. The thing that I wrote down, the part of the dialogue was, he left. He blew up my life. I did not want that to happen, but it did happen. And I had to do something about it. And then she goes on about saying, I'm sorry if you are not okay with what my life is now, but this is my new reality. And I'm taking charge of my life. And that really resonated with me because I came to a similar decision this time a year ago. This time a year ago, I was teaching Pilates independently. I had actually just left my cushy luxury wellness club job where clients were brought to me. All I had to do was teach and then sell them a package, and my schedule was usually full. I had benefits. I had access to a wonderful gym. It was very easy. I just showed up, did my job, went home. And I was starting to get to the point where I wanted more for my life. I wanted more control over my life. I wanted to control my hours. I wanted to control my pay. I was already at the highest pay rate that I could get there. So there was really no room for growth financially without having to work more hours. And so I took a big leap, and I was already teaching a handful of clients at a studio downtown. And so I found space in a studio uptown and started growing a separate practice uptown with some of the clients who had been seeing me at the gym or had used to see me and were no longer members of the gym. And I really kind of found my dream schedule. I was working 20 to 25 hours a week as a professional Pilates instructor. And I was also pursuing my artistic goals and performing as a puppeteer and actor in local productions, as well as I made my international debut last year at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And I had the freedom to travel and see my friends, go to the weddings out of town, take on the out of town gigs without totally disrupting my life. So things were great. Everything was fine and dandy. And then I find out that the studio I was renting from downtown was closing within 90 days. And that was half of my business. And so I started looking around to see if there were other spaces available, and there really were not a lot of options. There had been a handful of other instructors teaching alongside, so we were all sort of looking at the same time. So even the studios that had some availability were filling up very quickly. And so I started to figure out what was I going to do? So one thought I had was rent a small studio space. I already had a Pilates reformer in my own apartment. I thought, well, why don't I just actually pay for a small studio apartment in the area, put my reformer in there, put some other pieces of equipment, maybe even share it with another instructor. So my head was already in that place. So anyway, a bunch of us got together, some of the other instructors, and we decided to sit down and think about going in on a space together. So the rest of us had some equipment, etc. So this kind of started sparking all of these little, lights in my brain, and I just was getting really energized by the idea of this. So I started doing the research. I started looking around for commercial rental space in the area to see what the price was, what the square footage was, just sort of what was even available. And I started soon enough, I had a spreadsheet going of different places, different amounts of rent, started doing some ballpark prices on insurance, utilities. I started reaching out to an attorney in case, we had to look over a lease. And so I started just putting the plan in motion, having no actual real plan for how all of these things were going to come about. But I just started gathering the information and the data. So sure enough, long story short, I mean, it's a very long story. I feel like that's a story for a whole other video. But a year later, I am now in a space, still feels a little magical, over 600 square feet. I'm looking at the space. I should show you the space. It's really beautiful. And I didn't end up going in with any other instructors. It wasn't really what people wanted. They were excited about the idea, and they've been very supportive, and many of them are teaching here. But at the time when I actually came to them with a plan, after I'd gathered all these numbers, I actually put it on paper and wrote a small business plan and thought, hey, this is how we could organize it. And it turned out it just really wasn't what they were looking for, and they weren't really ready to take that leap. But I couldn't shake it. And I felt at that point I needed something to change. I loved my lifestyle, but I knew I just didn't want to keep trying to chase around studios and teach, a few sessions there, a few sessions there, a few sessions there, and do some side gigs. I mean, it was really fulfilling, but I knew in 5 years I still didn't want to be doing the thing that I was doing then. I wanted to grow somehow. And the way that things just opened up for me with the studio and taking this leap of expanding my own space and responsibility, and just giving myself this whole, rising to this next level within my career, felt like it was something I had to do. So now fast forward 6 months into the studio, real life has set in, and I am now solely responsible for paying the rent, all the overhead, seeing my clients, getting new instructors in, and still, have the rest of my life to organize on the outside. And there's days where I'm sitting here being like, what did I do? I had it so good. Why did I literally blow up my life? And there's some truth to that. I think entrepreneurs, or anyone who's taken a big risk or has taken that leap of faith or taken the next step in their professional journey, would be lying if they didn't say they didn't feel like that at some point. It's not regret, because I certainly feel very affirmed that this is exactly what I should be doing and exactly where I am. But there are moments where you look back and you're like, what did I do? Why did anybody let me do this? Why did anyone let me just shake up my life? I feel like my life was a beautiful little snow globe, and it was so pretty, and then someone just ripped it out of my hands, shook it up, and then gave it back to me, and now I'm just kind of dizzy, and there's fake snow falling around me, and there's real snow. It's winter in New York. But I was watching this episode and hearing Miss Maisel say this, which she goes from being a housewife to a stand-up comedian trying to make it in New York City in like the 40s. And I love it because you see her struggle and you see how uncomfortable she is. She's so uncomfortable. She's doing things she never thought she would do. And she's still a mom and a divorcee and having to do all of that as well. And she's taken a huge pay cut. As a divorcee, she doesn't have any income to stand on anymore, her husband's income. She has to make money on her own. And let alone as a stand-up comedian, we know that that's like chicken scratch when you're first starting out. And yet she has no regrets and she realizes the struggle, but she is so much happier. And there's a point where she says later on in the episode that there's no going back. Like, this is just who she is and what she's supposed to be doing. And I feel really strongly about my choice with the studio. And I wanted to share that with you all today because you might be facing something that feels like it's gonna, if you take action, it's gonna totally change your life. Your life will never be the same. And you're the only one who actually can make that decision and decide if you're ready for that next step. And if that is what you want to do. But I also encourage you that is a really good sign if you feel that way, because the only way we grow into a larger capacity to be able to do more is if we actually step forward. We have to step forward before we're really ready, because honestly, no one is ever really ready for that next step until they just do it. It's like taking a job that you're not really qualified for, but you're right for, and you can do it, but you don't have the qualifications, you don't have the experience, you just know this is the perfect job. I know I'm going to be great at that. And you get there, you have it in front of you, you show up, and then you're like, shit, I don't know what I'm doing. And then imposter syndrome starts to kick in. So I want you to keep this episode was really affirming, because I was starting to feel a little of imposter syndrome of who am I? Who am I to open a Pilates studio? Who am I to, take on this investor and buy equipment and be in charge? Who am I to do that? But the fact is that opportunities came to me, and I definitely did the research and definitely, I'm doing everything legitimately. I have an attorney. I have everything is in place. But in my mind, emotionally, I still felt inadequate or just not capable or not qualified. And I think especially as women, and especially as young women, I'm only 29 years old. I was only 28 when all of this started to be put in motion. I think it's just really easy to make up all of these excuses of why, no, not me, why it shouldn't be us. Like, someone else, I'm sure, is better suited for this. But everyone believed in me. And so the last person that needed to believe in me was me. Sounds super cheesy, but seriously. And the thing is, like, you're going to believe in yourself. You'll be ready. When the time comes, you'll know and you'll make the decision. But it's after you've made the decision, after you've made the commitment, that I think is where people don't talk about the follow through and the daily recommitment to your dream, to your goals, and to just stepping into the person who is qualified. And you've sort of created this world, and now you just have to step into it and sort of fake it till you make it. Literally become that person who is capable, who is qualified. I've come into work now as the studio owner. There's days that I don't feel like I should be a studio owner, but I am. So I'm going to put on the blazer, the power blazer. Some days that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable to take on that energy of being the boss, of being the one in charge, of being the one who has 100% total control over the vision and the growth and the development of the Feel Good Pilates brand. So I just want to encourage you that if you've taken that leap already and you're starting to have doubts or feeling like, what the fuck did I do? It's okay. It's natural and it will pass. And just know that in order to grow and to expand and to get more of what we want out of life, we have to shake up our lives a little bit. We have to blow up our lives. Well, I hope that this helped. Feel free to comment on something that you're working on, getting to that point of taking that next step, that leap of faith, or if you have done that, share your story, share the obstacles you faced and how you overcame them. And also, if you'd like to learn more about what I do and how I offer coaching and mentorship to people in all areas of life, relationships, finances, change of career, etc., just general life coaching, message me. You can go to feelgooddogoodrepeat.com and you'll find info about the different programs I offer there. Or just message in the comments and we'll be in touch. All right. Thanks so much. Bye.